everybody, my name is Larissa
And I'm Juliette.
and this is Beauty and Spirit TV,
Where you can have faith,
be fly, and flashy.
So today's topic is obedience. I know you guys heard it several times before, but I just want to give you guys a definition. So obedience means to submit to one's authority and to yield to authority. And so just like the scripture said in 1 Samuel, it says to obey is better than sacrifice. Today at church, my pastor actually talked about how you cannot expect a blessing from God if you're walking in disobedience.
And that is so true.
It's so crazy at the same time, because half of the time we don't even know if we're being disobedient or not.
I know, it's so true. So I've had a lot of, experience in running in with God about being obedient. And sometimes He's asked me to do things that are kind of extraordinary. You know, they're not the typical thing to do. They're not what my peers are doing. They're not what my family members are doing. And sometimes He'll call you out and separate you to do something that is just out of the ordinary. But it's something that you need to follow and make sure that you're on that track of whatever God's telling you to do. And that may come in different forms. Like you may get a sign of something, somebody may come and talk to you about, oh, you're talented in some area, and you may like kind of let it go. And you might hear it again, maybe 3 months later, and you keep getting the same message over and over from somebody. And that's just God telling you, hey, this is a direction that I want you to go into. Sometimes people won't hear, a still small voice. They'll hear from other people. You'll hear signs. You have to be aware and make sure that you're always open to hearing from God, because He's everywhere. He's not just going to be at the church. He's going to be, at the laundromat or wherever you are. He's going to be where you are. So always just have your heart open to hear and receive God's direction for your life. Even if you think that you don't hear from Him, God is always talking to us. So just make sure that you're able to even get in the position to hear from Him and receive what's going on around you. So with that being said, for me, this is what changed my life. God told me in 2011 to move to New York. And I, at the time, moved. I was living in DC at the time with my family. And I know that I always wanted to live in New York. I was like, I came up with this whole dream of, I want to live in New York in my 20s. And when I'm an old lady, I'm going to say, yeah, I lived in New York in my 20s and all this stuff. But for me, this was just a dream. It wasn't anything that I put into realization or thought I was going to do. But it happened, and God made that happen. And so I lived in New York for 5 years. And after I had graduated college, and I actually pursued my dream, which was becoming a makeup artist. And I know that it's something that's very trendy right now, but this was before Instagram. So this was around 2008. I graduated school and I was in college. And I was just still doing my friends' faces, in the dorm rooms we do, hair and makeup. I get everybody ready. And it was just something that I was always passionate about, even though I was still in college. And, you have society tell you that you need to do, have a 9-to-5 job, go to school, and, all these restrictions, and not really encouraging people to pursue their dreams. I feel like now we live in a better culture where you're more free to, be expressive and, do your own thing. People are getting the wave now, but back then it was nah, what? You're not going to be a doctor? Yeah, you're not about to work a 9 to 5, da. So it was far-fetched. But I did work for maybe a few months. I was I don't know, I got a job as administrative assistant for some staffing company in Maryland. And it was just the most boring thing ever. I just sat there, doing petty work, at the job, and I'm just this is stupid. For you. And the day I got released, it was a temp job too. The day I got released, I got a job with Mac, and I had let me tell y'all about that. I wanted to get a job with Mac since I don't know when, I was in high school or whatever, because it was oh my God, Mac, it's so big. And I tried to get a job with them while I was in school, but it just didn't work out. It was the bad timing. And so in 2011, I went for an interview to freelance, I found the recruiter's name and I called her and we set up an interview and I ended up getting a freelance job with Mac. And so for them, you know, that was my, let me tell y'all about God. That was my dream. That was my big goal. But I didn't know that God had so many other things in store for me on this path. So that started my path of like being a professional makeup artist, whatever. And I don't know, I was just like, wow, this is cool. So I started doing Mac a little bit. I was working at a mall, and then I ended up leaving that job. I was working at a salon in DC, Bang Salon. And I was an assistant there, and I was assisting 2 stylists there. It was good, you know, it was cool. And then like September rolled around and there was Fashion Week, and somebody like asked me to come to Fashion Week to help out. And so I was there and I went up to New York and I was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. Like the energy of New York was great. Like the fashion show was cool. Like it was just something that my heart was like set on. I was like, oh my God, I have to get here. And once I fixed my mind on getting somewhere or doing a goal, like I get there. And so in that moment, that was like when I first got saved too, after college. I first got saved in 2011. So I was like, you know, in my Bible, you know, I was like, you know, I was on fire. You know, that new saved fire, like, yes, I'm going to do this right. So, you know, I was praying, I was asking for confirmation, provision, and like along the way, people were trying to, you know, discourage me from moving because a lot of people, even if you're saved or not, they're scared to step out on faith. Yeah. Like, let's just keep it 100. Yeah. And only faith pleases God. Like, whatever acts you're doing doesn't work. Like, that's not how God loves us. He doesn't love us because of our acts, you know? So we always have to work on faith. So anyways, so I told the people at my church, I was like, yeah, so I'm gonna move to New York. And they were like, what, how? You know, and you know, everybody was being negative about it. And I was just like, I don't know, but I'm going, you know, I'm moving to New York. And so I ended up applying to this school. It was a makeup school, and they taught you like body painting, special effects, fashion makeup. So it's called Makeup Forever Academy. And at the time, I learned about Makeup Forever Academy a few years back, but they were only based in Paris. So they had just opened up a school in New York. Sorry, this story is long. So they opened up a school in New York, and I found out through this girl that I had met in DC, and she was telling me that she was going to that school, and I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna apply. She's like, oh, it's really hard to get into. But that was just the enemy, you know. It's hard to get me discouraged. Like, I'm gonna still do it. I was like, oh yeah, it's hard. Okay, whatever. So I still applied, and I was like the last person to get accepted into the program. And so, because they only had 2 spots left, so by the grace of God, I got 1 spot, and I ended up moving June of 2012 to New York. And prior to that, God told me it was going to take me 9 months. And I kept hearing a word about you're pregnant with something right now. It's going to take 9 months. So it was 9 months exactly from September to, I think, June or whatever. And I ended up moving there, and my life just changed completely. I was just exposed to a totally different world of my dreams, and it was just something bigger than I thought I wanted or I even knew of. I had no idea about half of the things that I've experienced. All I was concerned about was working for Mac, you know, and a lot of times our vision is so like small, and we're so fixated on the things that are in front of us, but God has so much bigger. So once you're obedient to God, He can open up those doors and bring you into different circles and bring you into different lanes of where He wants you to be, because He wants us to have exceedingly abundantly above what we ask Him. So in order for us to receive exceedingly abundantly, we have to just be obedient and let the small things go sometimes. And I don't regret doing any of it. I mean, my life isn't necessarily like my neighbors or somebody that has like a fixed income per year, you know, but I've experienced so much tremendous growth in stepping out on faith and just like trusting God and just relying on that. My relationship with Him has gotten so much stronger. I can hear His voice so much better. I receive His direction so much clearer than maybe somebody else who isn't in that kind of relationship with God. So I also encourage you guys to just establish a relationship with God, and that looks different for everybody, you know. It doesn't have to look like what your girlfriend's doing or what they say at church. Like, just figure out what works for you guys, you know, because God is within you, and you know, you just have to learn to love yourself as well. And it's just a self-development kind of relationship. I don't know how to explain, you know, building a relationship with God, but it's definitely important because life is a lot more clearer, and you can find your purpose. You can find what, you know, can help other people through, you know, giving Him the glory through your gifts and talents. So don't sit on what's in your hands, because God will bless the work of your hands. It says it in the Bible so many times. So just go out there on faith and keep going to the next level. Keep educating yourself. Like, education is power. So keep going to the next level. Keep, you know, stepping out on things that seem scary. Like, don't ever like retreat back and just not, you know, it's better to just do it than not to do it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So that's my little short, long story.
That was amazing.
Of obedience.
That is amazing. I mean, I think about obedience, I'm like, Lord, it's not always easy being obedient.
No, it's
So
not.
don't think that God is going to tell you something and you're going to be like, all right, Lord, like, let's get it. It's not. You're going to be like, Lord, is that you? Did you really say that to me? Like, are you serious? But the thing about God is that He chases after us, and if you don't hear from Him, He gonna have somebody, like Larissa said, come back and keep saying the same thing for you to do exactly what He said. But He knows His kids.
It's true.
He know we ain't about to be.
Okay. And that wasn't the last move. So, okay. Now I'm in Atlanta. So that tells you a lot about my obedience.
What?
And I was wondering, what am I doing here? But I guess He let me know. So it's all working good.
What did He say? All things work together for the good
of those who love the Lord. All right.
to love Him.
Yeah.
It's crazy because when I went home for Mother's Day, and the smallest thing, like, my dad is probably like the most amazing dad ever, and my little brother was on the way was with me on the way to church, and it was this thing that I heard this noise in my car, and I'm like, Lord, look, I ain't got time for nothing. I'm trying to get to church and praise You, and this car trying to do all these tricks or whatever. I'm like, all right. I didn't pay no attention. I was like, you know, it's cool. So I get home, I was like, I'm gonna let my dad check my car before I go back to Atlanta, because Ann ain't got time to be stopping on no road by herself, okay? And so that was obedience right there, because what if, and I said, Lord, what is this? You know, so by that, I was like, all right, Lord, well, let me get my dad to check my car, because if I'm not obedient to what You just said, I will be on the road by myself on the way to Atlanta.
Right. It could be the smallest.
That's a sacrifice, me being on that road and have to spend money that I didn't have to. You know, so just being obedient is so freeing. I don't have time to be out here sacrificing because I didn't obey what He said.
No, this one pastor was saying, like, how he was speeding and there was a stoplight coming up, I think. No, he was at the stoplight and the light turned green, but the Holy Spirit told him not to go yet. And then a big tractor trailer truck ran the red light with him and his family in it. He said if he was not obedient to that still small voice, that would have been it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Cornelius Lindsay. Y'all know them. So,
wow.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So just taking heed to even the small things. Doesn't have to be something so big like, oh, I gotta move across the country. No. But like just little things like being obedient can like save your life sometimes. It can save your life or change your life.
Or save somebody else's.
Yeah. So it's important to be obedient.
I was staying with this girl when I first moved down here to Atlanta, and I was on my way to Nashville. I will never forget this, and that's how I started walking in obedience from that day forward. From that day, I was like, Lord, I got You. I was leaving, and I'm packing up all my stuff, and you know, everything is rounded up. I go to my car. God had told her to tell me, to give her my keys.
Wow.
So it was like, and you know, here. But so I go back inside to get the rest of my stuff, and I'm like, where are my keys? I like my keys in the car.
Wow.
So I go back inside. I'm like, I just locked my keys in my car, so I had to call the people to unlock my car. $80, right? I'm like, Lord, this is crazy. But I went back in the house. When I told her that, she was like, the Lord told me to get your keys. Y'all almost slapped her. I'm just gonna be real, because I had to spend $80 to get this out of my car. But from that day on, she said that I would have kept it to myself. She said, God told me to take your keys. I just didn't know how you was gonna react to it. If God tell y'all anything to tell Ann, let us know.
Right, straight up. $80, I mean, that could have been groceries.
What?
Or something else.
Something.
Wow.
So y'all just listen. God is faithful. If you don't hear the first time, He always gonna come for you. So don't be trying to hide. He know where you at.
Right, that's true.
You know your address. You know your mama them, your cousin them. Your
Right. You can't run from God. He's
No.
gonna keep calling. At some point, you have to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Answer the call.
It's true. At some
Accept the
point, you
challenge.
gotta accept the challenge and answer the call. Because He's faithful and He will never leave you or forsake you.
Yeah.
So, unlike, some people in the world, you may be in relationships with people and maybe your spouse or your partner's not faithful. They may not call you even if you're mad at them. Or they might not call you back if you don't pick up the phone. But God is always going to call you back.
Yes.
And you just got to pick up. He's cool like that. He loves you.
Who do you know you can sit at their presence and you ain't gotta have no music on, you just sitting on the floor and you like, God, I just want to hear you and speak to you. Can't nobody do you like that. Can't nobody love you like God. Sometimes we're in relationships or with family and we still feel a void because they can't feel that need that we have. You know what I'm saying? And God is the only person that can, if you let Him. That's if you let Him.
That's a whole other video.
Like, I need God to fill every void. So I have to go to Him, and I can't get it from Larissa. I can't get it from, my mom, my dad. I can't get it from them because they can't do anything for me because they need God just as much as I need Him too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's true.
So we just encourage you guys just to be obedient. It's nothing like it. Follow your Father that loves you.
He will lead you. He's a good shepherd.
Leading God.
And He'll lead you to greatness at that. He's not leading you down no mediocre road. Like, no. Let me tell you, God is a big God. Okay? He's not a little teeny tiny God or whoever you think God is in your mind. No. Like, God is magnificent. He is like
glory.
Like, I don't even, there's no
level.
words in that it can even describe Him. If you look outside the window, that's God. You know what I'm saying? Like, look the whole sky. You know what I'm saying? That's real though.
Yeah.
That's
He can make anything move.
That's real.
Go up and down. Like, He has all power. Who do you know have all power? Nobody.
To get to know Him. To get to know Him. Yeah, God can do anything, and dreams come true. So it really does.
Yeah. So we thank you guys so much for staying tuned, for listening to our stories, and just being faithful with Beauty and Spirit. Really appreciate you guys, and this video will be uploaded. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, follow us on social media.
At Beauty and Spirit TV on Facebook and also on Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
YouTube. Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.